Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison, and I want to welcome you to this session. Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison, and I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising as we embark on our second of 5 days on the issue of trauma in relationship to war as we commemorate the events of 9/11 many years ago now, 22 years ago, in New York with the World Trade Towers and the Pentagon. We also, as we start today, want to continue our discussion of the extraordinary developments inside the U.S. government around congressional legislation that is mandating that all U.S. governmental agencies and contracting organizations and corporations begin a process which is designed to last for the next 7 years to disclose all evidence related to what is popularly known as the unidentified flying objects, the UFOs, although it's now being officially called UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena. As we have noted since we began this discussion last Tuesday with Daniel Sheehan, who's been intimately involved in the UFO, UAP issue for nearly 50 years. This is bringing the human species to potentially the most important moment in our entire history as a species. Because up to now, our species has had some contact with extraterrestrial intelligences, but this marks the first time where the major governing imperium on the planet is officially notifying the world public that we are not alone and that there is evidence, hard evidence of aerial craft, alien bodies, and communications that are incontrovertibly true. So starting in January of 2024, the world public is going to be given information in a sustained way over time. And as you all know, I've been asked to go back to Washington, D.C. by the New Paradigm Institute, which is in the center of all this legislative process and political unfolding, to head up their Washington office so that as the government of the United States begins a laborious process, because this information has been beyond top secret for the last 75 years. But now Congress is beginning a process of gathering it and releasing it consciously and strategically by right of eminent domain. So this is a very important moment, and we're going to be attending to this in every way we can as we build up toward the 22nd of December, when the legislation will be passed as part of the 2024 Defense Authorization Bill, which is typically passed right before the Congress goes on winter recess. We'll be having a summit here on Humanity Rising with Danny Sheehan and others to commemorate this extraordinary milestone in human history. And one of the things that we're going to do, which brings me to the singular point that we want to make in the next few minutes before we turn to Stephanie and the issues pertaining to veterans, is that if you think about it most fundamentally, if humanity is now entering its ET moment collectively and all of humanity at the same time, the most important thing that any of us can do is begin to attune our intuitive and extrasensory perceptions for ET awareness and ET communication. So we're going to be preparing through the New Paradigm Institute and through Ubiquity University training programs that will be both online and in person, so that people everywhere can begin to ready themselves for this next epoch in human history, as for the first time, collectively, humanity turns its gaze upwards to the stars. So it's in that spirit, I want to introduce a very special friend of mine who I've known for many, many years and probably knows more about this domain than maybe anybody I personally know. And that's Esperide Ananis, who resides in Convener, that mystery school and community founded over 50 years ago by Falco as a place on planet Earth where a whole community over time has been studying how one communicates with animals, with trees, with past lives, and with extraterrestrial intelligences and civilizations. So Convener is going to be one of the places where we go for in-person training. And as it turns out, completely synchronistically, Esperide is going to be convening a course live on the Ubiquity platform, and we'll give everybody the link in a moment, on how to do this. And so Esperide, we welcomed Esperide for 10 or 15 minutes as we get going today to just tell us about the course, tell us a little bit about what she knows about this domain. And I would encourage all of you to join this course and be one of the first people on the planet that begin to usher in our ET moment. So Esperide, thank you so much for joining us, and just tell us what's going on. And Georg, maybe you can put the video that you did in the chat so people can see it, and then the link to the course so people can sign up. But welcome.
Thank you, Jim. What an incredible moment to be alive. We've been saying this many times, but this is really quite extraordinary. As you mentioned, Convener and Falco, I would like to say that for us, for me personally, this moment is a relief, because Falco, our founder, always said that part of his consciousness was not from here. And so from the very beginning of the start of this project, there was the awareness that we are not just on planet Earth, that humanity is not only here, that we are part of a larger family. And for many, many years, he was telling us, prepare, because in this lifetime, you will see the disclosure. Prepare, because in this lifetime, the stellar doors will also reopen in a way that if we raise consciousness, we will be meeting, other humans. By humans, I mean human souls in different bodies or in different manifestations. So for us, this is finally, okay, now we can say this without no one saying that we're completely crazy. And another, part that was always a little crazy for us was the idea that when Falco was asked, how did you get the plan? How could you conceive this incredible complex of temples? They're called the temples of humankind that we built collectively inside a mountain. In the beginning, he didn't reply. And then when he finally replied, he said, well, actually, I was given this map. This map does not come from me. I was given this map by a special appearance, a special kind of spaceship. They appeared and gave him the maps of this incredible complex. And this is probably why we managed to build it inside a mountain, this crazy thing, taking out 2 million buckets of rock by hand with no accident. This was a plan that some other form of intelligence had seen and guided us to do. So now we can finally talk about these things because they will not seem strange. That's very good. And No, you want to comment? This is
Well,
very
yes,
exciting.
I think it would be worth Sparade taking just a few minutes to talk about your course and what you're going to cover, but also how dimensionalized and layered this whole extraterrestrial cross-species communication is, because it's not only human to ET, but human to trees to ETs, that the different creatures on the planet have their own way of communicating with life and intelligences beyond the planet. So this is an opportunity not only to go cosmic, but to go intimately ecological at the same time, because both are interconnected in a seamless web of life.
Absolutely. And what we feel, and it's been at the core of our research and philosophy and practice, is the idea that there is a plan that is guiding evolution of humanity, of plants, of trees, the planet, our planet herself. So it is together with this deep sense of ecology, of belonging to something that is evolving together, that we can now welcome without fear, with an open heart. Also the idea, okay, there are also other intelligences that we haven't met yet. They're here with us. And very often parts of them are also in us, in our personalities, in the connection that we have to the field of energy and information around us. So I think this is going to be a very interesting inner path, a path to inner discovery, as it is going to be a path to outer discovery. So the course that I am going to teach, and this is interesting because I chose this theme synchronistically without knowing that this would happen. I've been involved in past life research for many decades, but I felt that what I wanted to do here was to actually examine different zeitgeist, different moments in which the spirit of time was already telling us that we are in communication with something greater. So we're going to look at what time is, because nobody really knows, and it's interesting to see how time exists from a point of view of perception, but not so much when we look at it from a scientific point of view. So we can understand that past lives are not past, but they are simultaneous, which means we exist in multiple points of time. And as time and space are the same thing, we also exist in multiple times in space. And then we will be looking at epochs to see and to feel also through some practical meditations if we resonate with those epochs in which the idea that we were part of a larger family, stellar family, was very present with humanity. And we will also look at Atlantis, because Atlantis has been founded, according to all tradition, myths, and legends, by stellar people that then became us. So we are star people. We have that memory in ourselves. We have the memory of the whole cosmos, and also, of course, of our ancestors. They came from the cosmos, and then through many different genetic modifications became who we are now. But it's all in us. So if we understand and feel this, we see this is something incredibly new in this particular timeline, but is not new for humanity. We know this. It's a memory that we have deep inside of us. So we can approach this spiritually as an enrichment of our soul and who we are collectively.
I think that's very profound, actually, because I was just reviewing the congressional testimony that was convened by the U.S. House of Representatives on July 23rd, where these extraordinary statements were made by the whistleblowers and government officials that there is hard evidence of ET communication and contact. And what they were saying was exactly what you were saying, that the extraordinary mystery of these craft that come is they don't seem to be bound by any current understanding of space-time. And that's what makes them so extraordinary, because they're so far advanced than we are. Technically, the only way that we can actually be at their level is spiritually.
Exactly.
It's mystically. And that's what you folks at Convener have understood for 50 years and have been developing that body of work. So what you have been curating as the whole world now comes into this ET moment and the phenomenon moves from the margins to the center, Damenher's legacy, I think, will become a critical piece of the unfolding of humanity's ET moment. And so the fact that you're having this course with us right at this moment could not be more important.
So there is a plan, and we just need to follow it, to listen, to pay attention, and very often the whispers comes from the trees, right? Because the trees are the antennas. In any case, they receive information from the cosmos and send it. So as you said in the beginning, I would like to underline this again. We're all in this together. Every being, every intelligence, every soul on our planet is not just us humans.
Yeah, yeah. And the notion that ET awareness and communication is integral to ecological awareness and communication, and the need, therefore, to honor the intelligence of the trees as you would honor the intelligence of extraterrestrials, because it's all interconnected, and the trees can be portals to the kind of communication and awareness that we seek. That's a mind-blowing thought for us to kind of take in at this moment, and gives added impetus for humanity to stop killing each other and killing the planet and start to harmonize with all sentient being. I think that's the essential message, right?
Yes, also because in our understanding and our studies, let's call them the intergalactic treaties, changed over millennia. So in the beginning, from what we understand and studied and researched, you could claim that the planet was yours just by sending lots of people. So the first stages of colonization of any planet includes the Earth, where you come, you send people there, and then you take resources. But that does not lead to much evolution, nor a good use of the planet. So then after millennia of that, the treaties changed. And as climate also changed on our planet, became more stable, the idea was you need to create a civilization. Then if you have a civilization, then you can say, this is my planet. And this is what happened mostly at the times of Atlantis. Many people think of Mu. Mu was also very important, but unfortunately, from what we understand, it ended so abruptly that they didn't really manage to create a legacy, while Atlantis knew that they would end, that the decadence was longer. And then now we're in a phase in which we can talk, as equals to other intelligence if we prove that we can take care of each other and the planet. This is like the number one requirement. Otherwise, any intelligent, advanced, spiritual form of life, why would they want to be with us? Right? Why would they even want to be with us? Why would they want to be with us as equals? So I think this is a fantastic time to do that, what you just said, to call each other, to create community, to really start taking care of each other, our planet, and all forms of life in a different way, because we have a new calling to do this. It was enough, just us, we were not enough. Okay, now we have the cosmos asking us to do it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Asperide. And Asperide's course starts on Thursday. Georg put the link in the chat. And we hope that as many of you who can join us for this momentous preparation for this extraordinary moment in humankind history. So thank you, Asperide.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, everyone.
See you Thursday. So what we'd like to do now, everyone, is turn this over to Stephanie Mines. We have a conversation that she's going to share with us today with a woman who was in Iraq on 9/11. Oftentimes we think of 9/11 as what happened in New York City, but 9/11, times 100 happened to Iraq. And so she's going to talk with a woman who was in that country that the United States invaded on 9/11 ended up highly coincidentally in the United States. And so Stephanie is going to talk with her, and then when she finishes, I'll circle back and we'll close out the call. But thank you, everyone. Here's Stephanie Mines.
Hello, everyone. It's Stephanie Mines speaking to you again in this series, Warriors Cry for Peace. And today, my special guest is Hiba Jameel, who is writing the forthcoming, still in progress, but the record of her experience as an Iraqi woman, a Fulbright scholar, an attorney about to be in the US. Operation My Freedom. That's the title of Hiba's book, In Process. Today, I want to begin with an energy practice that allows us to come fully into our bodies and fully into a sense of spaciousness mixed with presence, grounded presence, as we explore how war comes home and what it means to be at ground zero. You're going to understand ground zero today in a way that I would posit you have never considered it before. So right under the collarbones, there is a site, an area of the body. Just place your fingertips under the collarbones. There's nothing fancy. It's just contact with self. Under the collarbones, you can see I have 3 fingers, generally arranging themselves quite naturally and easily, no strain under the collarbones. This site in the body allows us to be here now, to be present even when we are overwhelmed. And I will say, as the facilitator of this series and as the daughter and the sister of veterans of war and the child of Holocaust survivors, I will say that there are many times when I am listening to my colleagues and my friends when I feel like I would really just like to get out of this. I would really like to just go away from this topic. And I think that's a natural response, but it's not a response I want to honor because it's a response of fear. And I would say this entire series is intended to bring us out of fear into presence and truth and heart-centered awareness. So it's already happening. Even as I'm talking, I can feel my collarbones widening and thereby, of course, my heart opening. And we seal this with the Pamanju that I have been teaching, the Namaste, and you'll hear also Assalamu alaikum, the universal greeting of I honor the peace within you. So we're going to hear from Hiba Jameel, who, like others who you've heard from, the veterans that you either have heard from or will hear from, who was just 18 when 9/11 happened. And as the veterans will speak to how that propelled them to enlist, it also propelled Hiba on her path. So again, we're hearing from someone who, as a youth, experienced 9/11 and how it unfolded. You will hear Hiba speak to the compassion in her family and amongst the other Iraqis she knows for the losses, the grief, the horror that Americans were going through. Hiba was in her own ground zero, and it changed everything in her life. So I'd like to invite Hiba Jameel. I'd like you to just listen to her. I may engage with some questions, but this is really about Hiba's story, Operation My Freedom. Over to you, Hiba. Tell your story.
Good morning or good afternoon. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for this opportunity to share my story with the world. Actually, to begin my story, the moment of 9/11 is the moment that prompted me to become an American. And you will see that unfold in the whole story. So I was shopping for college. It was my freshman in college, and I was shopping with my aunt. It was about 4 p.m. in Baghdad time. And I was in a district a lot of Iraq veterans know as Al Qarada. And I was choosing some clothes when my aunt just tapped me in the shoulder in horror and said, look. So I looked at the TV, and at first I didn't understand what's happening. She's like, this is America, this is New York. And I thought it's a movie. She said, no, that's just happening right now. And I froze, and I was looking in horror. I didn't know what was going on. It occurred in my mind that there are people dying, and I'm watching. Innocent people dying, and I'm watching that. I was like extremely angry and horrified. And then what happened is once I realized I was actually an attack, it came to me immediately, who did this? And because I experienced it in my home, whoever did this wanted America. It like hit the America at the core of the freedom to drag it to where our world was. The world of oppression, the world of religious control in the world of no freedom, especially for women, oppression of women, in the world of crushing the dissent. So it occurred to me in one moment, that's the attack was all about. So I was horrified to where like America was the symbol of, or the only symbol of the free world, and you're attacking that. So there is not going to be any freedom anymore if that attack to be successful. So anger and horror, on the compassion, there are innocent people there, people going to work, they're far from military, and of course from all ethnicity, all religions, all walk of life. They are being dragged into a horrible political objective, which is the objective of demolishing the freedom and the free world, dragged into this by a group that we as Iraqis know the aftermath of their control is. They did not control Iraq politically, but the thought was being exported. And this is where like my horror, like I remember me and my aunt froze and looking at the TV and looking at each other. And coming from more progressive background, my aunt and I, like, we're not wearing hijab, we're more Western, like we knew this is gonna be the end of this. So it's not gonna drag only American people, but the entire concept of freedom down. And I didn't sleep that night. I was calling my aunt. We didn't have cell phones at the time, so I was calling my aunt on a land phone, and we're discussing what was happening. And since in that moment, I said, no, not on my watch. I will not let that happen. And since that moment, actually, I was studying translation to work with like an embassy or work as an author translator. But that moment transformed to studying international relations. Of course, I already was accepted, and freedom of changing major does not exist in Iraq. So, but I wanted to play a role in stopping that by first studying the origin of that aggression, which I know not even by studying, by experiencing the source of that aggression, and preventing that from touching the free world. So fast forward to the to the war. I inside the war, I knew this they're gonna drag Iraq into the war, drag us as civilians, which was, we were very opponents to that thought, but we are in the middle of that war. So my book was about day-to-day life of a sophomore in college. And after that, I actually worked with the United States Army as a translator for a brief period, and I saw from the inside the veterans what they were experiencing at the time. Not only that, I was encouraged by them, especially women and even men, that we are the concept of freedom, why we're there, why we're fighting, and my objective aligned with them. Yeah, I want my freedom. And then after several attempts, I won the Fulbright scholarship. Thanks to the American people for that. And came to study international relations from the beginning. And University of Central Oklahoma, great institution for that. Enablers, a good professor. They understood why I was there, and they threw resources at me. At the time, Arab Spring was going on. So I wrote a paper about the Arab Spring. And after that, after graduation, I went to law school. And after that, now we're at the point where I am today. And thanks, Stephanie, so much. During those years, after coming to America, the first thing I did is try and enlist. I joined the ROTC program as a participated cadet, tried to enlist. However, due to health issues, I actually took the ASVAB and went up to the medical, but the health issues disqualified me. But I still searched for a way to help. And the Red Cross, American Red Cross, was offering service to the armed forces and veterans. And I volunteered right away. I'm still volunteering since working with veterans. I tell at events, show veterans or active duty, what we have for them. And then during law school, I joined Legal Aid as a intern, that veteran law, focusing only on veterans in active duty. So Legal Aid has a branch catered to not only military law, but civilian law. We officed at the VA, and I didn't stop. And since that moment, I didn't stop helping veterans, finding a way to help veterans in active duty. And here we are. Thank you, Stephanie. That's a great opportunity.
Thank you, Hiba. And I just want you to know how much I identify with you. And I hope everyone watching and everyone listening feels the unstoppability of this courageous woman. One of the things Hiba said to me when we were speaking is that up until the age of 28, when she came to the US, her entire life was lived in war. That as an Iraqi woman, she experienced war every day of her life. And her heart, please listen up, everyone. Her heart has always been with freedom, with women's freedom, with the right to express yourself. And she shows up through her action for that passion that she feels. There is a program in which you will hear the mother of a veteran say, when someone says, thank you for your service, it's not enough. Do something for that service. And that's what Hiba embodies. The activity principle, the unstoppability of a woman who is a Fulbright scholar, who is a translator, who is about to become a lawyer, who is writing a book. And she is an Iraqi woman. She is someone who comes from the heart of her people, the heart of the women in her family, if I might say, none of whom are here with her in the US. She's on her own. She's on her own. She has not been able to return to her family. She's in the US on her own and unstoppable. So Hiba, I am wondering from this remarkable story, I can't wait to read your book, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Operation My Freedom. I am very much a proponent of women voicing their truth. people are going to be listening to you here from all over the world. Thousands and thousands of people are watching these programs. And one of the things that has been said by the founder and CEO of Humanity Rising, Jim Garrison, is that humanity has become a virus unto itself. So violence, war, I would suggest, is an expression of that violence. And the time has come in the evolution of humanity and in the evolution of consciousness for humanity to stop being that virus. And you said something along those lines to me when we were speaking the other day, how what you really want to do is promote connection, to promote unification, so that you're not thought of as an Iraqi woman or as a Muslim or as someone other than a member of humanity. I wonder what you can say out of your experience of living in a war zone for most of your life, out of your experience as a woman, what you can say to our listeners about how we can stop being a virus unto ourselves.
Yes. So the first time I introduced to war, when I started, knowing what's going around in kindergarten, I was born in Iran war, and my, innocent self is like, why don't we just sit and talk? Why just why we are different? I understand that, but why don't we just? Why are we have to kill each other to prove to each other, to dominate each other? Why don't we just sit down and work together? And that was mostly the focus. Even in my thesis or my master's, I focused on cooperation and how it's a deterrence of war, because when we're working together, we do not fight. So in a war zone, going back to your point, Stephanie, in the war zone is still like I grew up there, and I still didn't understand this demeaning concept that we need to kill each other. We're one human. A lot of Iraqis do not really align differently from the U.S. goals. People want to raise their families in peace, and I don't understand why a different person want to fight me just to get his point crossed. Why don't we just sit down? I do acknowledge that there are some expansionists, and that to me another concept. Why do we want to dominate each other and just sit down and talk if we have differences? So this never left me, even growing up in a war, even in the unfold of Iraqi freedom, like why we had to come to this point. I understood like Saddam was very defiant to everything, even to the United Nations. And to me, that was mere silly. Why are you being so defiant to get us to this point? So it's still, like, to me, I identify with any other human being. I grew up in a diverse ethnic and religious. I grew up in a Christian neighborhood. Muslims were very minority. So to me, I cannot look at my Christian friend differently, or my Assyrian friend, or my differently than I look at to myself. And even interacting with foreigners, interacting with Americans later on, and coming to America, I still hold the concept as we are all human beings, and we have to coexist. This is not a choice. We really have to achieve to coexist. Otherwise, I don't want to say doomed. This is a very strong word, but we're going to constantly go to war if we did not sit down and settle our differences. And with that point, you will be surprised on how much in common we have. Now, I remember interacting with the Americans, especially youth on my age who were in the army. And I asked them questions like, what is your dreams are? Yeah, we want to go ahead in life. We want to go to school. It's like, this is not different than mine. We are very, very similar. We are different in language, but the goals are the same. So we need to operate under the concept that we are all human. We have common way of life. We are here to survive. And unfortunately, our survival depends on each other. Not only that depend on each other, we are a social creature. We cannot exist by our own, and that also applies on states. So like being a human being in a situation of war where I did not have sides, and why I am in this, that was something I built on my entire time, even up to this point. Even I went to different colleges, worked in different companies, met a lot of people. We have a lot in common, more than we thought. So we need to stop and think and coexist. That's my goal. Like, that's my message or my calling, and that's what I'm trying to do. Even with the book, what I'm trying to accomplish is, like, I was just an ordinary person in a situation I did not have any say in or a part of. And not only me, even a lot of Americans, even after 9/11, they were in a situation where they did not choose to be. But a thing that I want to point out is might surprise me after 9/11 is the cohesion of the American society in the reaction to 9/11. They did not let whomever tried to change their freedom win. And by their cohesion, and that's an example, by working together and rejecting that attempt, rejecting it in every way possible, all the society came. And I told to my aunt a few years after, and even when I came here, the society just united together and rejected this. So this is one of the humanity thing that I want to point out. Thank you, Stephanie, very much.
Thank you, Hiba. And you know, in the regenerative health program,
Yes.
which is a graduate degree program that I have established through Humanity Rising and Ubiquity University, I introduce a concept, Hiba, which is called original brilliance. And original brilliance is the innate seed in all of us to be who we are meant to be. Like the acorn is the entelechy or the original brilliance of the oak tree. And
Yes.
as you're speaking, Hiba, I see your original brilliance. And I love how you mention these formative stages of your life, being in kindergarten and then preparing for college, and then this rite of passage into being a Fulbright scholar. At every stage of your development, your original brilliance, which is unity, which is connection, which is cooperation, which is the unity of humankind, the cohesion for what we believe in, that's always been there in you. That is your original brilliance. And war and violence could not destroy that in you. Just as we couldn't be stopped, we had like 3 or 4 attempts to do this interview. The two of us, we could not be stopped.
No.
We are going to do it and more. And
We made it happen.
We made it happen.
Yes.
And I could not be stopped from doing this program because even though I have to do it by recording, I would not allow it to be taken away. This program, this message, these voices from ground zero that have never been heard before. Your voice, Hiba,
Thank you.
has to be heard, has to be heard. What an incredible, courageous woman you are. And I want all the women watching to see how you overcame a lifetime of living in a war zone, leaving your family behind, starting on your own. And you're destroying all the presumptions, all the stereotypes about who the Iraqis are, even about Oklahoma. And I want to concur with you about the University of Central Oklahoma. I actually did research there myself. I did the clinical research that demonstrated that the children of war are more likely to have learning challenges than the general population. That's the research I did at the University of Central Oklahoma. They provided my statistician. So I have great respect for and appreciation, gratitude for the University of Central Oklahoma. And for you, Hiba, I am so honored to know you, so honored to share your message. And
Mutual, yes.
please allow me to support you in any way I can in your book. You're going to be an amazing lawyer, an amazing lawyer. So
thank you. Well,
thank
the way you support me is to continue your efforts, because what you mentioned, we met actually before, and I heard you talking. You cannot stress the importance of your work. And like what you were saying about a child of war with learning challenges, I experienced it myself. I've seen it unfold, and like it's very important to address that. I don't think anybody has done before. People are more focused on the psychology of children of war, but no one addresses the day-to-day challenges, like the learning challenges. They're living their childhood challenges. I mean, very simple to why I cannot play outside? Well, there is a rocket may fall at you. That's simple as that. And actually, remember when the sirens went off, we have to go inside. So these things nobody talks about, and like integrative medicine and all of that, people do not talk about. So I cannot stress the importance of your work.
This means so much to me, Hiba, what you're saying, because you're right. My research has gone relatively unnoticed, even though it's peer-reviewed and published. The whole concept of how war shapes development and the intergenerational and epigenetic repercussions of war, this is a major theme for me in all of my work. It's a major theme in the regenerative health program. And I'm inviting everyone who is watching and listening to be aware that this aspect of human development is not sufficiently acknowledged. Just as Hiba is saying, I'm really grateful to you, Hiba, for saying what you said, because I feel very often like I'm shouting in a vacuum and nobody is listening. And I did everything I could. I did the clinical research. I got the peer review. You know, that's not that easy. It's enormously hard work. And still, I feel like people turn away. They turn away. The fear of facing the ramifications. And as I said at the very beginning of this program, it does take courage. I can feel myself often when I'm speaking with the presenters here that it's hard for me to stay with it. I want to pull out of it because it's so painful and it brings back so many memories. But because I stay with it, and believe me, I use the energy medicine to do that. I'm doing it all the time. What you can't see below this box is me doing the energy medicine practices that allow me to stay with it so that I can be, as you are, without a doubt, a warrior for peace.
Thank you. Yes, and I wanted to bring out that when I spoke first time before to the American Army, there was a Humvee out of my fence, and I got out to see what's up, if there's anything I can help with. And a female soldier got out from the Humvee and started talking to me. And I felt like it's a college student the same age as mine talking to me. And like, you're not the monsters, the media. And then when I start working, I always tell, when people tell me how I was working with the Army, it's like, there are people like you, but in uniform. So like, and when I talk somebody, like, and there's interaction, they didn't look at me as an Iraqi, and I didn't look at them as an American. Like, we're two human beings, we're talking. Sometimes I see them on the street. One day they're closing my street, and I asked if I can pass, and they were like, go ahead, just as simple as that. And they didn't look at me as a different person, or so that actually was surprising, because any interaction with the Iraqi army at the time was not like, I don't know what the consequences would be, but I was very surprised with the humanitarian part of it. Another thing I wanted to very stress, Some people say like we went there in vain, we didn't do anything. I just want to say, for the time given to me, that is not true. Mission accomplished. You wanted free individuals, educated individuals, people who make decisions. They exist. It happened. It happened because of your sacrifices, because of that war. In fact, not only in the US, even in Iraq, I can see the youth right now with all the obstacles in their ways. They are opening projects. They are making businesses. They are out there doing volunteering. I know an Iraqi Christian, actually, a friend of mine, who since 2014 been actively volunteering in the society. In that time, if Saddam was in power, that's going to be impossible. So there are people like me who came to the US and got education. There are people like me who stayed and they built themselves. That would have been impossible without 2003. So I just want to say mission accomplished.
Thank you, Hiba. And I want to close with this message, and again, referencing what Jim Garrison has been saying. How can we stop being a virus unto ourselves? Hiba Jameel has shown us the way. Thank you, Hiba. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You are the voice of Ground Zero, and we are rising up in hope thanks to you. Thank you, Hiba. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
That was Hiba and Stephanie, as you saw, an extraordinary interchange with an Iraqi woman who was alive at 9/11 in Iraq and now resides in the United States, of all places, and has carried a deep humanity, which she shared with Stephanie and us all. So that'll bring our session to a close. Everyone, I put the link to Asperity's course starting on Thursday in the chat box so that you can avail yourselves to this unique opportunity to begin personal preparation of sort of upgrade in how we commune with the rest of reality. And nobody that I know of does it more exquisitely and gently, but inexorably than Asperity Ananas there in Damanhur. You're all welcome to the after session chat group. You'll see the link in the reminder that you received for this call. So you can just click on the email, or you can access it through the link that Stan has provided in the chat box. And then we'll see you all again tomorrow for another session with Stephanie as she dialogues with several other people on another aspect of what it means to be a casualty of war. Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.